So I want to encourage Pennsylvanians to speak up, to use their voices, to do it constructively, to not retreat. This is a moment to make your voices heard.
Some extreme members of the Michigan legislature are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn marriage equality. Here's my response to that. Hell no.
I'm here to say New York hasn't labored under a king in over 250 years. And we are not. We sure as hell are not going to start now.
My oath is to the Constitution of our state and of our country. We don't have kings in America, and I don't intend to bend the knee to one. Tyranny requires your fear and your silence and your compliance. Democracy requires your courage.
They are right now and will continue to be some of the most essential and trusted voices of dissent and opposition in this brand new era. Governors, Democratic governors in state houses all across the country. It'll be up to them largely and others to continue to give voice to the American people who see something profoundly wrong with what is happening, not just in these first few weeks, but most likely over the next 4 years. It's a privilege to bring in Democratic Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Nicole.
We played a whole bunch of your State of the State address. I want to play one more piece of sound before we jump into this.
If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
Yours is an assessment I've heard from former senior national security officials, but only privately, and you're the only one to say it publicly. Say more about your decision to do that.
Well, I should start by saying that my family escaped the pogroms in Ukraine in the 1880s, and it was when the Russians were coming to kill Jews. And this country, the United States, provided us with the security, safety, opportunity to, well, just to live. And of course, I should point out that it was a public school that gave my great-grandfather an education, and a public service, a public health agency that gave them a place to live. And so I am very grateful to be an American and believe very much in protecting all the rights of the American people. I also built a Holocaust museum with Holocaust survivors here. And I can tell you that in 1933 and 1934, the German Constitutional Republic was converted into a dictatorship in a very short period of time. And, anybody who walks through a Holocaust museum and sees the chronology can see that when rights get taken away, when, the services to people are diminished, when all of a sudden we're favoring one group of people over another, that's a danger that we ought to all pay attention to. I'm seeing that in this country right now, and I needed to speak up. I needed people to hear that. And I think that, we're seeing gradually an understanding that we've got to speak up. People need to show up and speak out.
What is it like to be a Democratic leader in a moment where the people, the only people standing up for the rule of law in terms of elected officials and the Constitution and rights, basically equal rights, are Democratic leaders?
Yeah. I'm concerned. People need to speak up now. It's not later. There needs to be a wake-up call. And I do see, you played some of the video and clips from other governors, but it's the people that they represent that are speaking out, showing up at town hall meetings that are going to make the biggest difference. Meanwhile, you need to see Democratic leadership on this subject. And by the way, Republican leadership, there are plenty of Republicans out there that do not agree with what's going on in Washington, D.C. Now, the elected representatives in Washington who are Republicans are apparently too afraid to say in public what they say in private. They know that Donald Trump is off in the wrong direction. They're just afraid. They're afraid to lose their elections. Democrats shouldn't be afraid. We've got to speak up right now.
Can Democrats protect the rule of law in America by themselves?
You know, it's going to take the judges who are hearing these cases in court. It's going to take Democrats taking those cases to court. It's going to take average folks out there showing up and protesting. Remember what's happening, and you've been talking about this on the program, what's happening to the federal agencies. Now, that's not necessarily a matter of rights, as we would refer to them, but, you know, when you lose the ability to see the person, you know, when you're a veteran, to see the therapist that you've seen for the entire time you've been under therapy as a result of the, you know, the fact that you've served in a war and just need a little bit of help. When you lose that, when you lose, as is happening in my state, we're losing our meat and poultry inspectors. Remember, if you are in the meat and poultry industry, you're trying to sell your goods. You can't sell them if nobody's inspecting them. And by the way, when you go to the grocery store and your prices go up because the supply chain is broken, or when there's contaminated meat or poultry on the shelves because we don't have any more inspectors, those are the rights. Those are the things that people expect to see, and they're not seeing them. And again, we've got to do so much more to speak up and let everybody know across the country that what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing is wrong for them, bad for working class and working families across the United States, and bad for the most vulnerable people.
I like to always stipulate that it is not the Democratic Party's fault that we are here. But my old party has collapsed onto itself. You have former doctors like Senator Cassidy voting for RFK Jr. You have former prosecutors voting for folks who are not coy about their disdain for the rule of law. So I just want to put that out as pretext. But I went back and I watched your speech and a bunch of other addresses from the Democratic Convention, including Adam Kinzinger's. And all of the things that you and Republicans warned would come to pass have come to pass. Why do you think those warnings didn't sink in the time frame of an election?
You know, you got to remember that the things that I'm speaking out about now, about, you know, the threat to our democracy, this is not a message to win elections on. It's something people need to know. They need to know that that's happening. But, you know, if you talk to 100 people, knock on 100 doors, and I've knocked on an awful lot of doors running for office, and you say to people, you know, democracy is at risk, nobody knows what that looks like. They've never experienced it before.
Yeah.
And the reality is what people need to hear about is what the effects of that are. The prices at the grocery store are going up because democracy is being taken away. The impact on you in terms of your health care, 770,000 people in Illinois will lose health care as a result of what Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the Republican Congress are doing right now. It's a danger to your way of life. And that's what people need to understand. It's all about affordability. It's all about how you can, you know, make it just a little bit easier for people every single day to live their lives. And they're taking that away from you. That is what it's like to have democracy taken away. So those are, you know, we need to bifurcate between educating people about democracy being taken away and talking to people about what the message ought to be about why they need to vote for Democrats.
It's so interesting. I mean, you're right. That is sort of the linkage that was maybe missing, and frankly, it's on the media as well. I wonder if you have any insights about what your constituents are going through that could inform the debates in Washington or the coverage on shows like this.
Well, you know, I went to visit a Head Start program in the suburbs here, suburbs of Chicago, and they had to lay a few people off as a result of the uncertainty of whether they would see the support from the federal government that they've always received. And when they have to lay people off, that means fewer kids can be in their program. And when fewer kids are in the program, that means their parents who can't go to work because their child can't go to that program. Now, there are layoffs that are occurring, and they're devastating, layoffs to government workers. But what about the layoffs that are affecting average folks out there that don't work for the government because they can't get child care, because they can't get the services that they need? it's devastating to families across Illinois and across America. And slowly but surely, I think people are waking up to see it. But all of us, especially in leadership, need to stand up and speak out and, put the red blinking lights, red alert, like on Star Trek. Yeah. We are under attack. We, all of us across the United States, everybody is under attack because they want to take services away. You know why? To provide a massive tax cut for the wealthiest and most powerful people in this country. That just seems wrong, and everybody needs to understand it in order to make sure that they're, that they get the impetus to get up, get out there, show up at your town hall meeting, call 202-224-3121. That's the number for the Capitol, and ask to speak with your congressman's office or your senator's office and tell them, don't take my services away. Don't take away Meals on Wheels. Don't take away Medicaid.